Lifestyle guru Carole Caplin teaches health and well-being to individuals, some of them rather well known. Today she's amongst the 1,800 lively pupils of the successful King John's School in Thundersley, Essex, where she plans to enlighten pupils about the developmental impact of food and lifestyle on the human body.
I'm hoping to get out of today's experience a feeling that the kids have learnt something more than what they learn at school, that they actually take it on board physically. There's a different awareness there, and also doing what I call some physical pursuits that might challenge them in a different way from competitive sports. So I want to make it around what they do now and how that can reverberate down the line in the future, both positively and negatively.
Carole will be teaching a GCSE food technology class, normally taken by Carol Woodhouse.
Right, will you take your coats off, please? Bags down. Practical that you did, the last lesson, was fantastic. And I did tell you that I'd be giving out Lion Awards today for those plans that you made, because there were some fantastic ones there, and I was delighted with the work that you did. For some of them, it's a career that they're thinking of pursuing once they've left school. So I do have some in the class who are thinking of going on to either study food at A-level or becoming a chef and going to catering college. So there's a lot of interest there. They like the subject and they are a highly motivated class.
As for her own education, the young Caplin must have been a challenging prospect for any teacher.
I was not absorbed or interested at all in school. I couldn't understand why I was only learning academic lessons and that I had no idea what to do with dealing with the world at large outside. My memory of that part of my schooling was we didn't learn skills. We weren't taught about muscle groups or how we were going to have to take care of our body during the different cycles of our lives. I had a rebellious streak. I love sport. So that was my saving grace. But I would bunk off school, and I you know, when I went through a year when I was about 13 where I wanted to stay in with the gang.
The good old days.
Carole's regular clients include major players from the worlds of business, politics and sport. Her challenge today is to engage a class of teenagers who enjoy the practical discipline of food technology, a subject which is currently in vogue.
It's actually quite strange that parents, when their children are taking their options, always ask, do many boys take food? Which is normally a surprise for people because they're expecting it to be mostly girls who are taking a food-related subject. But I think with the increasing popularity of TV celebrity chefs like Jamie Oliver, more boys are being attracted to the subject. Most of them will be happy to talk. What is the problem if we have bacterial growth in food?
You can get food poisoning, be unwell.
Right, you can get food poisoning, and food poisoning is a real problem in this day and age. Ryan is a star in my book, definitely. He loves the subject, wants to be a chef, is looking at that as a career. Hannah's actually quite a quiet pupil. She's a thinker. She'll sit and think for a long time about topics that we're doing. How would you find that information out? Kira, again, loves to make things, a very practically minded person. They are at a very vulnerable age. Teenagers are very self-conscious. If they feel that they have something that sets them apart, whether it's being overweight, skin problems, anything at all, they don't want to be different from their friends.
Carole has given members of the class a questionnaire to fill in about their own diet and lifestyle. This will form the basis of her lesson plan. But will the plan fit the class?
If they get asked questions that makes them look different or are too personal, I don't think they'll want to contribute.
I think the thing that I'm most nervous about in teaching the kids today is either boring them to death or just not getting a response from them.
Not boring a class full of teenagers will be quite an achievement for Carole, if she pulls it off. To teach her class, Carole has asked that they be taken out of their usual room and into the school's state-of-the-art exercise and fitness suite.
I think the assumption that students will come into school with everything that they could possibly need for anything you might throw at them is possibly a little naive.
Carole is gambling on the class adapting to an environment that she feels comfortable in.
They're going to be out of their comfort zone. They're not used to working in this environment for a food lesson. It's good for them to make the link between food and exercise, and I think that's actually going to benefit them.
The most important thing today is that whatever I'm doing with them, they are absorbed in it and they're interested.
Before the class begins, our guest teacher's lesson plan comes under scrutiny.
Yeah.
You gave me the questionnaires. Now there's going to be 16 in the group this afternoon.
I know I haven't got everyone's, but that's fine. And actually I'm actually going to start off doing some physical stuff with them.
Right, now they're going to be arriving in their normal school uniform. They are not wearing sports kits at all. They don't have trainers on or anything like that.
I can still do. I'm actually going to do some breathing and posture.
Right.
Just because actually it's one of the things that wakes them up, especially if they've just had lunch. And what I prepared for the class was to actually make it half physical and half around choices and consequences. So food is a part of it.
Yes.
But it's certainly not everything that I want to cover.
Take me through your lesson, because I haven't had a lesson plan, so we've got an hour here.
The idea was, it's really about body awareness as opposed to competitive teamwork, peer pressure.
Yes.
It's about a physical awareness that I, as a teenager, never got.
I think for a lot of the students, they can't actually see themselves long term.
That's right.
They're very immediate, aren't they?
Yes.
And the other thing, certainly from a food teaching point of view, everything that you present has to be a positive. I'm very conscious of the fact that there are a number of students here, if you were talking about, cutting down on this or don't do that, there are too many students who would possibly think about stopping eating. We've got issues with anorexia in the country, not in this class, I don't think, but you need to be aware that the messages do need to be positive, because they pick up very quickly on negative messages.
Yes.
So how long do you think your physical section will be?
I'm going to try and do it half and half.
Right.
So
30 minutes is quite a lot of exercise when they're not in their PE kits.
It's like any class. I take it from the people who are in there, so I won't be watch taken. There'll be a natural finishing off. Is there any way we can get them in their stuff?
Absolutely not. We've
Okay,
not
so
planned
you
for that,
weren't
so we
briefed for
really would struggle to do that now. If they haven't got PE today, which I don't think they have, they won't have that equipment with
The
them.
stuff that I'm going to be asking them to do, as long as they're not wearing tight jeans.
So you do the exercise routine with them, and then what are you moving on to next?
I won't pinpoint every single minute of what they're going to do. It will be fairly organic.
As a teacher,
Yes.
if you were teaching a lesson, you'd need to go in with a bit more structure than that. Certainly, you would need to have a clear idea of the learning experience they're going to have. We normally talk in terms of a 3-part lesson, where you start off and you explain what they're doing, why they're doing it. Try and capture their interest through establishing the relevance. Why do they need to know what you're giving them in terms of the information? Then you move into the main part of the section of the lesson, and in that, 20 minutes is long enough for anything. After 20 minutes you lose their interest. And if you have an hour, we're looking at 3 quite separate activities, and you need to be quite pacey with them, because if they lose interest, they'll start talking amongst themselves.
Right, okay.
So try and think in chunks, and at the end you need to pull it back together. Let's look back at what we've learned, what are the key things, and try and draw that out from them, rather than it being you telling them what they've learned. In fact, they need to tell you what they've learned from the exercise. The other thing that you may have an issue with, obviously they do food with me, that's their subject.
Yes.
A lot of them have decided to look at snack foods because they appeal particularly to teenagers. And we've already done quite a lot of questionnaires, surveys, interviews and so on, and most of them have established that there is a need for healthier snack products, particularly for teenagers, which links into the work that you're doing. So from their own point of view, in terms of the study that they've been doing with me, if they're talking about why do we need this change, why are we worried about health, and health isn't just food, it's all the other things that come together, the things that are in your questionnaire. But if you were trying to get them involved early on to talk to you about what they already know, and some of the questions in the questionnaire also link with food, they would settle down quite quickly with you and possibly get over the barrier of we're in a different room with a different person. Because if you get them onto home territory, they can start contributing to you, and once you've hooked them, then you can bring in, well, now we're moving on forward.
Fantastic.
So it's possibly a way of hooking them into your lesson, making a link with what they've done before, rather than it being starting cold with an issue and they're thinking, why do I need to know this? How does this fit into what we've been doing?
If I wasn't nervous before, I'm definitely nervous now.
You shouldn't be nervous, and they are a really lovely class, and I always look forward to teaching this class.
Here's fingers crossed.
Yes, absolutely.
Worst I can do is fall flat on my face.
As the moment of truth arrives, Carole's mentor prepares to assess her performance on a screen next door.
Come and have a seat. My name's Carole, and I've been asked to come in here and teach a class. And we're just going to cover some bits and pieces on food and choices and consequences, because I know when I was 16, I had absolutely no idea about what I was doing then, how it would affect me 5, 10, 15 years later. And the reason why we're in here was I just thought it would be really nice to take it out of a formal classroom. And just
She's doing a good introduction. It's a good introduction, this.
Can I ask you to take off shoes? Shoes and jackets. Will you be warm enough?
Carole wastes no time in getting the pupils ready for action.
Right. What sport do you do at this age? I haven't got a clue what they do at schools anymore. In my day, it was, you know, you just did team sports. That was it. Do you use this equipment? In what capacity? Just to show you, or do you use...
These are very open questions. She should be targeting children that she wants to speak to. She'd get, especially the people sitting at the back, they're not getting involved at all.
We've got a key. Each person's got a key.
Right.
And you get a workout put on it from the machines, and like if you move up a level, then they put a different workout on and it goes up.
Okay. So, breathing. Can I do an experiment with you? Okay, I'm going to lie on the floor and I'm going to do some breathing. Just if you can get to a place where you can see me. If you're in bed and you're asleep and you're relaxing, or I am, and you're watching me,
Some of them are looking a little bit bemused as to what they're doing and why they're doing it.
what do I do that's different?
It breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth.
Yes, that's right. That's the one thing I do.
The lesson might be as easy as breathing for those in the front row, but the learning objective remains elusive for some of the pupils.
Because she's kneeling down now, she seems to be talking to a small group of people in front of her, but I'm a bit worried at the back here that these people really aren't getting involved in the lesson at all.
Let's see if I can get you to lie down. And anyone who doesn't want to do this doesn't have to. What you can do is you can watch.
It's a bit of an all or nothing, that you either ask them all to do something. If you give them an option, you run the risk of them not cooperating.
How do you think that that would relate to these machines when you're doing an exercise?
She should possibly target her questions at specific children.
I do actually, what I do need is if we can, if everyone
She's
can
having to
lie
work
down,
harder now because she's not getting them involved.
and just come into this sitting position here.
Possibly she could have at the start of the lesson got them to sit in a circle and each tell them what her name were, or so that she could then get each of them to speak. It's that first talking that involves them.
Just bring your hands out like that. And just slowly go all the way down. Try and remember your feet on the floor.
More familiar with pots, pans and thermometers, will these pupils ever be able to study the composition of quiche after a food technology class like this one? Although it's not a picnic for everyone.
Does it hurt anywhere?
No, it's only because I have my appendix out, so I can't really.
So, don't do this.
That's probably not the exercise for him then.
If I was going to advise a teenager what they could do instead of chocolate, what they could have as a snack, if I was going to try to get them to have meals...
Right, she's trying to get them engaged now because they've not really been interacting with her sufficiently now, so she's actually going back to what she knows they understand, which is a good thing to do at this stage.
Or are you all just really into chocolate?
She could really benefit from standing up now, though, because the people at the back are not making eye contact with her. By kneeling down, she's sort of obscuring their view of her.
I've had 5 sheets back which look like you have perfect nutrition. 3 meals.
Orderly pupils are a good thing, but what every new teacher really fears is the silence of the class.
Oh, they're just not talking to you, are they? She really does need to try another strategy to get them involved.
Because I've heard that you've been doing some projects where you've been designing different kind of foods and snacks and products like that, and I actually thought that was a really That was a really excellent idea. So what did you come up with that was interesting, did you think, for the person of your age or a little bit older to have? Anyone have porridge for breakfast? Weetabix? What about skin? Does anybody ever think about...
We're into the last third of the lesson, and that sparky exchange has yet to happen.
Okay. I wonder whether I can get any pen and paper. If I put you in small groups...
Right, she's thinking on her feet now because she hasn't planned to do this. Obviously they're not responding and she's having to adapt quite quickly.
1 second.
Yes, talk to me.
Really failing here.
No, you're not failing at all. These people here aren't talking to you at all. Okay, get them to stand up. No, get them to actually move around. Say you want a girl on each mat, and you want 2 boys on each. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to give them a very short period of time. Give them 3 minutes and say, right, your ideal school meal. One of you writes, one of you gives me the answer when I go back, and the third person who isn't speaking, I'm going to get you to tell me an answer in a minute. You need to get some of these people involved. They're just not involved in the lesson enough. But you are doing fine. You are doing fine. No, you are. Keep smiling.
Okay. Great. I'm going to split you up a little bit. I'd like...
one girl on each mat.
One girl on each mat
well done.
who's left in the room.
Yep. And 2 boys on each mat with them.
I'm going to pay you up. So you come on here.
That's it.
You
Good.
stay on there.
Right, they're moving around. This will liven them up a bit now. That's it. Well done. Good, because they're coming to the front because they were sitting at the back before. That's it. Good. Use the names. Doesn't matter. Just ask them anyway.
So I apologise for that. And then I'd like... Okay, I'm going to have to put...
2 boys on each mat. Spread them out.
I'm going to bring you on here.
That's it. Well done.
And have you 3 on there.
Right, let's liven this up a bit
When
now.
they come in, I'll tell you.
A bit pacey now. We need to give them time limits and get a bit more oomph into this.
So the first thing you've got to do, I'll give you the brief. Just come behind here. I'm 25 years old. I wish, but I'm not. I'm 25 years old. I work.
Oh, she feels a bit more like a
10
teacher
hours
now.
a day.
She's stood up. She's taken control now. She wasn't doing
2
before.
years
She was
out
down
of
at their level. Now she's
university.
stood up.
And I'm at the point in the job where I could go...
Carole has now taken control of the class, and the pupils are starting to engage with her. But there are less than 10 minutes of the lesson
And
left.
I'm not feeling great, so I'm getting quite a few headaches.
So
I'm drinking tea and
it's a
coffee.
shame this wasn't the starting activity because she'd actually have engaged them at that point and they would have listened more attentively from there on in. Better be a bit quicker here.
What I want you to do is to come up with an ideal breakfast, lunch and dinner.
All right, that's better. That's better. They can do that. Right, give them a time limit now. You need to say you've got 3 minutes. Speed it up a
Anything
bit.
you want, anything you think that would be really, really good for me.
Right, now you stop talking to them and let them get started because if you keep talking they think you're giving them instructions and they won't start talking amongst themselves.
It's not to do with my weight because
You've got to stop talking now.
if you give me
they
something
can't get
that's
started
good
till you stop talking.
and I start feeling better and I have less headaches and I have less tummy problems, my weight's going to take care of itself.
One of the important things in teaching is to learn when to not talk and to be quiet. Just back out and let them get on with it now. Leave them alone, let them do it.
Over to you.
Now, she didn't give them a time limit on that, which would have been useful. If she said 3 minutes, they'd have been urgent. She can actually now relax just for a minute because she's worked jolly hard in the last 45 minutes.
How much water is your body made up of, do you think?
I think it's
75%.
75%.
75%. So given
We've got 2 minutes.
in liquid consumption, if I'm drinking loads of coffee and tea and I'm having, diet drinks.
As the lesson nears its end,
Excellent.
teacher and class have now warmed
That's
to
right.
the subject together.
And what would they do with the tea and coffee?
Oh, she keeps going.
Cut out. Yeah, great, love it.
Come on now, stand up. Finish this lesson. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm coming over here.
No, you can't. You can't. The
This
lesson's
way.
finished.
So, what am I having? What are you advising me to have and not to have?
So, to drink, you're going to have tea, not coffee.
Okay.
Because of the caffeine. And then through the day, have plenty of water and maybe like a glass of orange juice.
Okay.
Sorry, bell's gone, but the lesson has actually finished, so you need to finish it off now.
Okay. Right. Okay. I'm going to have to wind this up. Very, very quickly, very interestingly, when it came to breakfasts, you gave me a completely different breakfast.
Actually, next to make this snappy, because if they were going to another lesson now, they would be well and truly late and would get in trouble with the next teacher.
And that's really the most important lesson of the day, is not to let it get to a point where it gets so bad you have to do something about it because you're at your wit's end.
She's pulling it together now. She's getting a conclusion, which is good.
But thank you for your participation.
So what did the pupils think of the lesson?
I thought it was quite interesting, but I forgot most of it.
It's not the best lesson I've had.
I thought it was quite good to be in a more relaxed environment to learning. I thought it was more easier to learn in there and more fun.
Should have put us in groups earlier because I kind of switched off.
I thought it was a good lesson because she involved like a lot of people.
I thought it was quite good, but I prefer to do practical lessons and like cooking and stuff.
I'd rather have been in a group earlier because I learnt more when I was in a group and I was paying more attention.
It was good because we did like practical and answer questions.
I think it was quite good to get out of the classroom and do it in a nice environment like that. It's quite good.
That was a very humbling experience. I think
kept
I was the
going.
one.
You kept going, though. You
I
didn't
was
give
the
up.
one that was having the lesson, not them.
What have you picked up from doing it? It's what you pick up really is the most important thing. What have you learned by doing
Well, first
that?
of all, believe it or not, I'd love to go in and do it again because I got a direct experience of what you don't do and of what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And that it's a completely different dynamic. I mean, teachers really have to learn about the age group, don't they? And how to teach them and how to engage with them and how to keep them interested. And for me, it was like going back to school to learn how to teach again.
If I was teaching that class, I already know them. So I go in at an advantage. You did come in cold to this class. You've never met them before. So that was a difficult thing to do. And there were lots of strengths going on there. You kept positive. When you were asking questions, you learnt quite quickly there that if you don't give them long enough to think, they can't give you an answer. And as you went into that lesson, as you progressed, you gave them longer to answer. And then you got more of them engaged. Did you think they understood what you wanted them to learn?
No. The first however long of the class, I was just surviving it.
Very often teachers think it's me and the class. Well, in fact, you're a team together.
Yeah.
And if you make them feel part of the learning experience, actually you will all cooperate and support each other. And you had that at the end, didn't you?
Yes,
I didn't want to. That was the problem for me.
No, I know.
You didn't want to stop.
No, that's right. I didn't want to stop
because it happened then.
We created the relationship,
Yes.
and again, it's what I know in my day-to-day life. It's about creating relationship. Yes. I work one-to-one, or I work with groups of adults, and there's a certain interaction that I've really got used to, and it's water off a duck's back, even if they're complete strangers. It is a completely different dynamic with children.
Apart from the bit at the end, how would you start up your lesson in a different way? Because it wasn't quite there at the start, was it?
No, I mean, I would certainly want to sit down with somebody like you and say, OK, take me through this. Right. I need to know how to format this in a way that translates well for them. And I think that, you know, because I'd asked to sort of be in this environment as opposed to a classroom, and thinking they were all going to come in their gym gear and I had a certain amount of space, I didn't actually check out the situation properly, and I would do that again.
So if we were to look at your planning, I think new teachers, when they come to the profession, you can have an experience like that where things don't go quite as you'd like, but that's less likely to happen if you have the safety net of a carefully structured lesson.
Yes.
And always have a reserve in case something goes wrong. So you needed the paper and pens, which possibly we could have organised if you thought, well, I'd rather have those to be on the safe side. And it's always useful to have a fallback.
It's interesting because, again, you know, the lesson is here, which is as you say, part of it is planning, but then when you do hit that point where you go white out, is just to go to back to your initial plan, and I forgot to do that.
Yeah. Because you start with what they're familiar with, and then you move them on, and that's what learning is all about.
Yes. So you'd have me back again,
Of course I'd have you back again. That class would have you back again, because in the last 5 minutes you've ripped them.
After that last-minute surge, student, teacher and mentor are already talking about a rematch. But as the crowds drift away, Carole has a moment to reflect on the lesson, and the emotional cost of playing her heart out for 60 minutes finally catches up with her. Tell us what you're feeling now that the class is done and you've finished your teaching time.
It was an experience. I mean, I'm not upset, I'm just overwhelmed. It was extraordinary, because I've taught, you know, my job is teaching, and when I was in front of the class, within the first 5 minutes, I thought, I'm not imparting any information. I felt that I was just talking to them. I went in and asked for help, and Carole gave me some points, and I came back in and it was okay, you know.
Okay, get them to stand up. No, get them to actually move around.
You know, and it was just completely different, and neither the kids nor I at the end wanted it to end. It sort of took me the 50 minutes to get into how do I do this. I mean, when they say you never stop learning, by God you don't, and that you should always put yourself I should always put myself in an environment where I don't know, in order to learn better how to be effective in teaching, because I want to work with kids. I think I underestimated the whole impact, you know, and how I would feel emotionally. With adults, you've got life experience, however little that is, they've had years on them. With kids, you don't do that. You've got a fresh piece of paper. It's like going back to learning my ABC of how to teach children.